أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Alhamdulillah, welcome everyone to this another session in the series of research forum at Maqasid Institute. We thank everyone for joining this another session. This is the first session for the year 2024. And this time we will have a speaker who will talk about a person who will be interesting for us to consider his ideas in interpreting the Quran from Russian Russian history. But then before we introduce the speaker, and I would like to invite Prof. Jarullah to say a few words before as an introductory words, please.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أسعد الخلق وخاتم الرسل محمد صلى الله عليه وآله ورضي الله عن المهاجرين والأنصار ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين ثم أما بعد. I think this is a very important day for us in the Maqasid Institute. We are having a very interesting lecture on Sheikh Musa Jarullah, and I would like to make 2 points because I really want to give you the most time with our lecturer, Dr. Elmira. The first point is the importance of women's scholarship in Islam. We as an ummah have been lagging behind the ideals of the Quran and the model of the Sunnah, as well as the paradigm of our history in terms of women's scholarship. These days, we have very few women who are Muslim scholars of the caliber of Dr. Elmira, barakallahu fiha. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless her. Her contribution to scholarship is important, and the view by which women scholars actually look at Islam is very important. I would leave Dr. Eldous to introduce Dr. Elmira. She is his wife, so he will be probably very humble in the introduction. Perhaps I would add that she is one of the important scholars of today that we need to look at their contributions, and especially the topics that she chooses to study, especially related to the Book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the height of Islamic scholarship. The most important and the higher ground that you can study in Islam is something related to the Quran, the Book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I cannot stress more my happiness and honor to be part of this panel. Secondly, Musa Jarullah is one of those scholars of the Ummah who refused consciously to be a scholar of the Sultan. He was a scholar of, the Sultan of the time, but then things changed a lot and the revolution came, and he refused to be part of that. He is well known, at least in the Arab world, as someone who could have been one of the group that led the country after that and this, but he stood with the Ummah and stood with the truth, and therefore paid a price of his moving to different countries and ending up dying and being buried in Egypt. I know where he is buried, in Cairo, where I grew up, but very few people in Cairo and very few people in the Muslim world know about him. And that is my point, is that the scholars of the Ummah don't have the apparatus of a state to promote them and make their books textbooks in schools and give them media platforms. In the past, it was in the masjid and in the ministries, and in the present, it is in the social media and this. And of course, there has to be power behind it for someone to find their way on social media if they say something serious. And therefore, he is very important to study for those who are serious about Islamic scholarship, because the time we are living in now is a time of change, is a time of decline of major powers in the world. And it is essential that we look at the contribution of scholars in order to learn how to deal with today's situations. There is no tafsir. Dr. Elmira will talk about tafsir. There is no tafsir without the mufassir. And there is no mufassir without the surroundings of the mufassir, the world of the mufassir. The mufassir, when they do tafsir, they don't touch the ultimate or the reality tafsir of the Quran. The reality tafsir of the Quran will come in the akhirah. Allah said in the Quran, يَوْمَ يَأْتِي تَأْوِيلُهُ, the ta'wil, the real interpretation is in the akhirah. But every interpretation is the attempt of the scholar to contribute to their times. And a scholar of the ummah like Jarullah is actually very important to learn the paradigm from, to learn his approach, to learn how we can contribute to our times by looking at the Quran for the sake of betterment and rectification and tajdeed and the renewal in our times. When I read some of his writings, I was actually quite shocked at some of the similarities of ideas that I personally agree with and promote and work on. And his ideas, even though we come from very different planets, but subhanAllah, the planet of Islam is the same planet, it seems. And when we have the ummah as our purpose and the service of the Book of Allah as our objective, we will have similar approaches and we will have very similar views. I don't want to take any time more from the lecture, and I would like to ask humbly Dr. Elmira to deliver. Wa barakallahu feekum. Back to Dr. Eldous.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Jasser. Well, this is how we are going to proceed. So just a very little housekeeping, I would say. So I'm going to introduce the speaker, and then she'll deliver the speech. And then I would ask everyone to keep their mics off, muted. And as you go, if you feel if you have any questions, you can write them in the chat, or we will also have the time for question and answers, for comments right after. So just as an introduction, well, Prof. Jasser already said that we are related. She's my wife. Well, she's a scholar. She's a Tatar scholar from Russia. I mean, originally from Russia, from Tatarstan. And she's a professor in history and civilizational studies, currently working with Institute of Knowledge Integration, which is known as IKI Academy, registered in Georgia. And she was previously employed as a senior research fellow at the Freiburg Institute for Advanced Studies. And she was the Albert Ludwigs University, and this is Albert Ludwigs University Freiburg in Germany. And as the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation Fellow, and she had received the award category of experienced researcher. She was also at the Department of History and Civilization at the International Islamic University Malaysia from 2015 to 2021. And she was also adjunct associate professor at the University of South Australia from 2018 to 2021, and a research fellow at International Institute of Advanced Islamic Studies, IAIS Malaysia from 2013 to 2016, and a lecturer at the Kazan State University between 1996 and 97 in Russia. So she obtained her PhD from IIUM in 2014, where she conducted research on pan-Islamism in Russia at the beginning of the 20th century. She is the author and editor of several books and more than 70 research articles and book chapters in the areas of tafsir and Quranic studies, Islam in Russia, Muslim minority rights, Islamic political thought, diplomacy in Islam, Islamic civilization and history, and also gender issues in Islam. So I guess you'll find a lot of articles if you just do a little search of her articles of her work. Today we will hear her talk about the Musa Jarullah and his approach, his methodology of interpretation of the Quran. But of course, she will introduce him as well. So, Dr. Elmira, please, all yours, please.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you very much. And thank you, Prof. Jasir. Thank you, Dr. Ildos, for introducing me and giving also the very good introduction. So my task for today is already half is already done, but I need my slides, Dr. Ildos, if possible. This is your responsibility for today. And like the Prof. Jasir was mentioning very important things, what are very relevant to Musa Jarullah and also for today's the word. When the Ildos is just the opening, I just wanted to make one comment here that when Ildos started working with Prof. Jasir Auda and also the Maqasid team, and he was saying to me, this is something like the ideas giving to me. This is the idea about the Quran, about this one. I was saying, no, I know already this idea because Musa Jarullah was already mentioning about it in this book and other book, and he was surprised. So it is how like the Jasir Auda mentioned today, I found a lot of the links and also similarities between what our scholars, not only Musa Jarullah, the Muhammad Abduh and others were mentioning, they were all learning from each other. Musa Jarullah was the student he was studying Quran and tafsirs in Egypt, for example. I will mention about it. So they learn from each other. We are learning from them. This is amazing, the side of learning from each other and the transformation of knowledge. And as always, I say to my students, knowledge never dies. It goes from one place to another. But he is the most important thing, that to be the leader in this knowledge, not only the leader, also the being influential on the direction of the knowledge. If we are not influential, if we are not the ummah which is creating the knowledge, which is beneficial for entire humanity, other people will create the alternative knowledge, and then we will keep complaining in our ummah that this knowledge is not relevant to Islam, and such kind of the complaining attitude will continue. What we always speak in the classes. So here today I am speak about methodology of Musa Jarullah Bigiev in interpreting the Quran. I am not a Quran scholar. So I did my second bachelor in fiqh and usul fiqh. Then I was trained to be a historian. But for the master and PhD thesis, I was studying the heritage of Musa Jarullah Bigiev and other scholars in Imperial Russia, Muslim scholars who were contributing to Muslim scholarship, but their names were forgotten because of the lack of the access to their books, or because it's already is not very easy to understand the manuscripts and the workings, because it is already the nation today, the Tatars are at the Ildos. You can go to the second slide now. So these are what they were writing. It was in the Arabic script, the Tatar language, but in Arabic script. But today we are reading the Kirillitsa. It's why modern scholars are having, not everyone is capable to read the books. So who was this Musa Jarullah Bigiev? Musa Jarullah Bigiev, who was him? He was a Kazan Tatar scholar, and you captured already the place, right? It's written in red color, Kazan. So Kazan, there is the Moscow. I am giving this the map, the small piece of the Russian map to you in order to locate what are the Kazan Tatars and where he was living. So this is the Kazan. Around the city of the Kazan, all the today is the Kazan Tatars are all the, I mean, it is considered something like they are the center, they are some kind of the relevance for them, and also they are the homeland. But Musa Jarullah was born in Rostov-on-Don. Rostov-on-Don is just the last the place, if you can see Rostov-on-Don under the big written Europe, under the Europe, you can see the last one is, I mean, yes, Rostov-on-Don. He was born there. And when we are looking at the map of Russia, the most of the names of the places in Siberia, in the Caucasus region, in Volga-Urals region, most of the names are Muslim names, because, you know, this was not the place, actually the Islam in Russia is not something related to what we are experiencing, for example, in Western Europe or in the Central Europe or in USA or Canada today, because Islam has very deep roots in the territory, which we call Russia today. So we can go to the next slide now. And I will show to you what is the roots of Islam in the territory. Because these places in history were not called Russia, and it was divided into small kingdoms or the sultanates or khanats. And the first time Islam became official religion in the Volga-Urals region, where the city of Kazan is situated and where the Kazan Tatars are living, the place was called the Bulgar Kingdom, and they accepted Islam as the official religion in the year of 922. After that, the place was having they had the relations to the Abbasid Caliphate, and also they having the very strong connections with them. Scholars were coming, and also the local scholars were also going to the centers of the Islamic civilization. They were developing together. And after that, from the 13th century, it became the part of the Golden Horde because of the Mongol invasion. So Mongols came, they invaded this place, and they left there the name of Tatar to these people, the Bulgar people who were called the earlier Bulgar, Turkic-speaking people. And after that, Golden Horde, or in local is going to be Altın Orda. Altın Orda, Golden Horde was established in this place, and this Golden Horde again is becoming the center of Islamic civilization with the very prominent scholars. And from the 15th century, there is going to be Kazan Khanate, all these Islamic states, until the place is going to be captured or invaded by the Russian Empire in the year of 1552. And from this time until the time of the Catherine II, all the policies of the Russian government is going to be Christianization, assimilation, and also Islam didn't have any possibility, or Muslims didn't have any possibility to practice their religion. It was the Russian Empire was during that time considered having only one identity. This identity was the Slavic. So everyone's supposed to speak in Slavic language, Russian language, and practice also Christianity. So Muslims were deprived from possibilities of learning, having educational centers or having the mosques. But later, from the time of the Catherine II, she will change these policies. I am just giving here because it's going to be I'm a historian, and if I will start speaking, I will spend all of my time. So everything is going to be changed from her time, and later there will be the very strong wave of Islah and Tajdid movement will start from the second half of the 19th century in the heart of Russian Empire in the Volga-Urals region. So not only Kazan Tatars, the Azeris, and also the Uzbeks, and from the Caucasus region, also Bashkirs, all are going to give contribution, and the Crimean Tatars also. There will be the prominent scholars in this region, and the movement is called the Jadidism, from the movement Jadidchilik or the Jadids, Tajdid. This is the Arabic Tajdid, and they were calling it at the Jadidchilik in the local language, or following the Jadid movement, Tajdid movement. So it's going to be called today, we call it the Jadidism. Then Russian Revolution. But during this time, Muslims were not having much possibility to join the political happenings of the country. Then the Russian Revolution will happen in 1905, and Muslims are going to be able to participate in Russian Dumas. This is the parliamentary system. They will have the political parties, and also having some kind of influence in the political life of the country. Also, we can go to another slide, Hildos. So this is the next slide. Yeah. So this is the where Musa Jarullah was born. So this is the Musa Jarullah was born. If we are saying that the Musa Jarullah was born in Russia, we can just you may have some kind of the false idea that he was born among non-Muslims, but actually the country, although it was the non-Muslim country, the Islam was very strong, and there were possibilities to become a Muslim scholar. So this place was the historically center of Islamic education, intellectual development, and scholarship. But later it became isolated from the Ummah, but although it became isolated from the Ummah, it was having also their own development of scholarship. This is one thing. Another thing, they were having their unique problems and realities in that context as Muslims living under Russian rule, and the problems were not the same like what the problems in Egypt Muslims were experiencing at that time, because their problems were unique for them, like having all the assimilated Christianization policies. This is very parallel to what did happen in Andalusia. Andalusian Muslims and Jews also during that time. It was almost the same things were happening in Russian history. But later they were able to outcome such kind of problems and giving birth to such kind of the huge Islah and Tajik movement. And realities I was mentioning to you. So when the Muslim world started experiencing colonialism problems, Muslims who were living under Russian imperialism during that time, they were already learning how to survive, not only how to survive, also how to become active promoters of unique ideas, and also giving solutions to their own problems at that time. And also it was called the Jadidism. We can go to another slide in order not to, this is you can see one of the picture or the photography of Musa Jarullah, which was taken in Cairo, like the Prof.Dr. already mentioned that he died in Cairo. So is from his later life years. And so he was looked like this. Later I will show to you his another photograph, the picture, which was taken, he was much younger. And what also I found about him, his educational background. His educational background was very integrated. Number one, he got his primary education at Russian school with other kids. But his father died when he was very small, and he was he grew up together with he had one brother living together, mother. His mother was very worried that Musa will have not having possibility to learn more about Islamic scholarship, and she found that he is a very bright person and sent him to Kazan, to the city of Kazan from Rostov-on-Don, especially to the Apanay and Kulbuye madrasah. Later also there are some other narrations that he was also visiting Bashsaray madrasah in Crimea. So he's having now primary education in Russian school. After that, going to the madrasah in Kazan and Crimea. Then after finishing madrasas, he returned back to his native city, to Rostov-on-Don, and finished a real technical lyceum. After that, he decided that he needed to study more about Islam and went to Central Asia to many madrasas. He was not learning at the madrasa system, actually. He was always criticizing existing madrasa systems at that time. So he was like in our very traditional way of getting knowledge, he was studying from scholars. He was going to one madrasa where one scholar is for example, the teaching, and just learning everything what he want to learn from that the scholar, and moving to other madrasah. So he didn't finish any madrasah. He was traveling throughout the Central Asian madrasas for 4 years. After that, he traveled to Istanbul. From Istanbul, he went to Middle East. Especially, he was studying in the Bilad al-Sham, in the Damascus also, he was studying there, especially in Egypt. In Egypt, he was working on manuscripts, very old manuscripts, especially related to the Quranic studies, and the compiling them, finding them in the old libraries. He, in one of the letters which he was writing to his friend his friend who was living in Finland at that time, that he was in the several months, he was able to compile 30,000 pages of information about the Quran in the libraries, old libraries of Egypt, which are not visited by anyone during his time. Also, he was living in Mecca and studying also reading old books related to the manuscripts related to Quranic studies. Also, he went to India. He was living in India. Later, he returned back again to Russia in the 1904, just before the first Russian Revolution, no October yet. And he became student at the Faculty of Law at the St. Petersburg University. So please, the next slide. So after that, this is again the very, just to show how he was what were his activities after getting education. I usually divide it into 3 periods because of the happenings in the country. The first period is from the time when he returned back to Russia from his travelings until the October Revolution. So he was working on the news, working for the newspapers, and also the teaching at the madrasah. And also he became imam at the St. Petersburg Mosque, initiated some ideas based on his own ijtihad, like the fasting during the polar days. Especially he was living in St. Petersburg, and he was seeing that during the Ramadan time, there is no night, and what will happen? He was searching for all this information, some fatwa by the scholars. Then he found that nothing, what they can follow in order to ease the difficulties of hardship of people who were fasting in St. Petersburg, for example. Then he did his own ijtihad and giving the fatwa. But his second idea was about the mercy of Allah towards everyone, entire the humanity. So as a result, many of his books were banned because these were the unique ideas for that time. And after that, after the October Revolution, he continued his scholarship and also served as an imam. But he was also following the pan-Islamist activities, what we call the pan-Islamists. These are all about the unity of Muslims. And he was also criticizing communism and socialism in his writings. He participated in Mecca conference, and also he did some trips to Berlin. But later, so he tried to find to understand, even after the establishment of the Soviet Union, he tried to understand what is going on and trying to be beneficial for his people. But later, when the repressions of the Stalin started and many scholars were already put in prison or killed, the hundreds of thousands were at that time already. It was the beginning. In the year 1930, he understood that he will be not able to continue the scholarship inside of Soviet Union. So he secretly migrated to Afghanistan firstly, through all these mountains, and it was very long way, and he was forced to live alone. He couldn't take his family also. He couldn't meet his wife and the kids after that. So he left the country. After that, he went to the Chinese Turkestan and was traveling for the rest of his life. He was living in Kashgar, India, Egypt, Turkey, Finland, Germany, Iran, Iraq, Hijaz, Japan, China, Afghanistan, Singapore, Indonesia. But what is interesting, he never stopped his research and publications. Most of his books, he kept writing and writing and writing. and most of his books are lost because he was writing, giving to the publications, and it was the colonial age started after that, and many of his the books were lost, and he died in Cairo. Yes, the next one. So this is the very maybe the short, maybe long information about him, about his time, and why he was studying Quran in a such way. So as you can see, if we are looking and if we are focusing on his scholarship, we can find the legacy of a multidimensional model of scholarship, which covers a variety of disciplines and wide-ranging thoughts, like he was integrating of various disciplines such as Islamic studies, political thought, sociology, cultural studies, philosophy, pedagogy, mathematics, astronomy, modern law system, history, because his education was also integrated, and also that he was getting education from different scholars. So his scholarship became multidimensional, and always whatever the fatwas he was giving, or what type of the books he was writing in every discipline, what I found in his writings, always he was focusing on the well-being of society around him, society of the ummah, society of entire humanity. So it's why I always see the approach in scholarship was the Maslaha oriented approach. And also this is number one. Number two, he tried to consolidate Islam with the modern progress. Always the modern progress, he tried to always give the solutions and give advice to people around him that we always have to reconcile in Islam. So Islam is the philosophy of everything, but in modern progress, especially the technological ones, we have to benefit. And this is not only the unique idea. All the scholars like the Muhammad Abdo and others were also promoting the same ideas. But always the studies of the Quran was always central in his scholarship. Let us go to the second slide. Next. So these are some of his books. He wrote, as we know about all the names of the books, titles of the books. He wrote 122 books in Tatar, Arabic, Russian, and Turkish. Some are also in Persian. Like the Tarikh al-Qur'an al-Masahi was published in Arabic in the Al-Manar periodical. Kitab al-Sunnah we have in the Tatar language, where he was writing about Quran a lot. And Uzun Günlerde Ruza İçtihat Kitabı, this is the fasting during long days. This is the book of İçtihat. He was also mentioning about Quran there. And another very interesting book, title is very interesting for me. This is Büyük Mavdularda Ufak Fikirler. So the translation will be unimportant or the small thoughts in big topics. So he is talking about, he's criticizing another scholar, but he is talking about these are the huge topics, very important topics during this time. But he says we Muslim scholars are keeping ourselves busy with unimportant, some kind of the ideas, unimportant the solutions, when we are just keeping trying to find solution to all the big issues. And also the other books are, and also another very interesting thing, he was also translating Ash-Shatibi's Al-Muwafaqat into Tatar language. And he says this is one of the most important books that every Muslim scholar is supposed to study today, especially in our time. But unfortunately, he was not able to publish it, and his translation, if I'm not mistaken, it was lost. I didn't find his translation, only introduction I was able to find. So yes, please, another slide. The next slide. So when we are talking on his ideas on the Quran, these are not my ideas. One of the Turkish scholars, Yusuf Uralgirey was able to summarize his ideas about Quran into three the points. Number one is the Quran has never become obsolete or never lost its value. In contrast, It includes the instructions and provisions that ensure the happiness of the entire humanity as long as these words last. Second one is the religion of Islam is based on the freedom of thought, freedom of ijtihad, and freedom of invention. The main reason for the dullness of our contemporary Muslim world is the negligence of these three freedoms. So many of his, like any other scholars, he's writing about the closing of the doors of ijtihad and other things. In the summary, it will be in English, it will sound like this. And the third one, or ignorant and non-professional scholars, experts, teachers, and mullahs cannot fit into the realities of the century in which they exist. Because they understand the Quran and Hadith within narrow frameworks, he said, they could not realize and open up the horizons of Islam. So please, can we move to the next slide? So because Jarullah did not consider the Quran only a revealed book that guides people to the right path in the matters of spirituality and morality, and contains the principles and hopes which ensure their happiness in this world and hereafter in this regard, but also all the legal principles and restrictions of this heavenly book should be accepted as an eternal foundation of humanity's happiness. So it's why in many of his writings, he was saying that the Quran is sufficient to bring happiness to entire humanity. But the problem is we cannot understand how we are going to apply it. And our understanding is having problems today. So the Quran contains all principles and universal rules that can make every human happy. But these rules, which are sufficient to guide humanity, towards progress and well-being, need to be discovered. Thus, understanding the Quran in the correct, timely, and relevant to socio-cultural context is the most important task of a scholar. Yes, please, next slide. I am trying, because I know that the time is I have very limited time. I am trying to be faster here because what I wanted to say, I didn't come to the point yet. So here, I am giving two citations from his two books. Number one is from the book of the Ijtihad related to these fasting issues during the polar night, where he wrote, if we refer to the tafsirs such as Baydawi and Kashaf, which had devoted all their efforts to the Arabic features of the Quran, and if we also take a look at the commentaries on the verses that have been compiled, as they cover all the verses that may refer to the Shari'i laws, we will see that everything is included in these books, but there is nothing related to the main purpose of the Quran and Islam. So he is talking about tafsir, existing tafsir books in that region during his time, because these were the Baydawi and the Kashaf were among the most widespread tafsir books in the madrasahs of Kazan and Central Asia also. In such matters, it would be better if an individual would look at the expressions of the Quran with their own eyes and minds. Naturally, I did the same. So instead of following the tafsir books, he tried to understand Quran by his own mind, by his own eyes, related to his time and we can see understanding, yes, understanding. And in another book called the Islam Alif Bas, this is Alphabet of Islam, he wrote, the main aim of the Quran is hidden in the question. So this is the main question. What is the role of a Muslim individual and a Muslim community in the face of history and a broader society? So this is this is our job, the scholar, that we have to answer to this question. What is our role today, for example? Because as a Muslim scholar, as a Muslim individual, as a Muslim educator, as just a Muslim. So yes, next slide. Then, if we are looking, this is the topic, if we are looking at the methodology or the model of Jarullah in understanding Quran, he's the most of, my ideas are based on works available to me. I didn't read, I couldn't find all of his writings. And I did this research when I was in Germany under the Humboldt Foundation, but this was only the one part of my research during that time. So here I divided it into three main points. Here's the model or the methodology of understanding the Quran. So in the number one, it is understanding the meanings of the verses genuinely by mastering Arabic and also translations of the Quran into vernacular. If you remember earlier, I said that in some of his books, I was reading citation that we have to use our mind or understand, to interpret the Quran, not just blindly following earlier tafsirs, because these tafsirs were very essential during their time in order to help Muslims, their fellow Muslims, to understand the Quran. But today, we have to also to understand Quran, not just follow the tafsir, but we have to understand Quran ourselves. We have to find all this is the relevance to our time, relevance to our own the individual realities. It's why he said that the number one, we have to master Arabic, but also not everyone will be able to master Arabic. It's why translations of the Quran into different vernacular, also he was supporting it. Later I will explain about it. Number two, utilizing reasoning and logic extensively to comprehend the correct meaning of the Quranic verses and their relevance to current time realities and socio-cultural contexts. Number three, Maslaha-oriented approach to find the purposes of the verses to benefit the society. So now I am speaking, in the next slide, I am speaking about yes, please, Ildos, activities related to the first step, understanding what we can do in order to understand. Yes, we have to study Arabic, but not everyone is capable to do it. It's why he was supporting translations of the Quran into non-Arabic languages and also vernacular. But this is only in order to understand better, but still the Arabic version remains as the main, because this is the Quran and others are just translations by some individuals, and they always will have the very individual understandings. So in order to give some kind of the sample, how Quran supposed to be translated, he started translation of the Quran into Tatar. And he also did some of the agreement with one of the publishing house in the year of 1912 that his translation will start being published, but the Muftiat, which was called at that time Arimborg Spiritual Assembly, this is the Muftiat of the Russian Muslims at that time, is banned it from publication, and we don't have this translation copy today. I was trying to find it also in Germany. Some people say it is available in Germany, in Berlin, because he was also bringing the translation, the copy to Berlin, but I couldn't find it so far. And how he was saying it, he explained the understanding or translations in a such way. The most important pillar of Islam is the Arabic verse of the Quran. But the translation of the Quran is, of course, obligatory in order to explain and reveal the meanings to every member of the society who didn't have because every Muslim is supposed to understand the Quran according to him. Yes, next one, please. Yes, this is the most difficult slide for me to explain. This is about the using of reasoning and also the logic in comprehending the correct meaning of the Quranic verses and their relevance to the current context. What he was mentioning here is always this explanation of Musa Jarullah gave to some kind of answer to my many ideas. I always was thinking, why Muslims always, first I am talking about Muslims. Why Muslims are always trying to find some enemy today? Or why they are focusing on their own way while trying to criticize other side, trying to criticize the alternative thought, trying to criticize everything. What is the reason for this, the critical view of the otherness or other things. And even the modern time is the same, because today also like the Huntington was writing the Clash of Civilizations is almost the same, the type of the logics, you know. So here I understood related to this the Musa Jarullah's explanation. He said that today everything is, or the way of thinking is based on Aristotelian logic. And it was used by Muslim scholars in understanding and interpreting the Quran, and consequently in understanding the religion. So this especially after when the logic, the Greek philosophy started influencing. So now Muslims from that time started seeing the world and explaining based on this logic, Aristotelian logic. So what is the difference of this Aristotelian logic here? Is the rules of this logic, which is determined by Aristotle, is based on a reactive action, reactionary, because it was against the thought of the sophists. It has a purpose of protecting the minds from error, as the priority of that time was this one, because sophists were giving the one idea, and the Aristotelians, the now philosophers, came out with the other idea in order to protect the minds of scholars, minds of people from following the sophist people. So as by its nature, it is negative, trying to see the negative side and not relevant to the modern realities in which we are living today, he said. At present, it is the era of searching, finding and discovering, and producing the producing age, not the era of the protecting and existing. And there is a need for inventing, manufacturing, or producing logic. And this is what we need today. He said, this we can find in the Quran, because this is what we need today, not only in the Muslim world, but entire the world is at the age of the production and the producing age, or age of discovering, age of developments. This is the logic of the Quran, he said. And if we will understand the logic of the Quran in the correct way, then every human being in our society can benefit from it, he explained. Because the authentic Quranic logic is not for the protection and proving that the idea is the right one, but it is logic of the Quran is about declaration and guidance, declaring the truth and also guiding people. These are the two. Maybe some of the translations are here not exactly the same how he was writing, because the Musa Jarullah was not writing in English, right? So maybe some of the ideas, his ideas, I'm missing here. So it's why he said these are the two different things. Now we have to return back to the logic of the Quran in understanding the Quran, and study everything with this logic of the declaration of the truth and also guidance for the humanity. Yes, the next slide, please. And yeah, and also under this, the second one, and also this comprehension of the verses of the Quran with relevance to current realities and social cultural context. What I found in every of his book, even in he is writing about the Quran issues, but immediately he brings some examples from his society, or from society in Egypt, for example, in India, immediately trying to find existing solutions during his time. Because he constructs, it's why I summarize. Jarullah constructed all his ideas within the framework of social issues because it was the time of having a lot of the social and political issues during his time. So he tried to find we can see solutions, or we can, bring benefiting from the ideas in the Quran and also the verses, message in the Quran, philosophy. He wanted to benefit society. The factors of social context, culture, and time, essential for Jarullah's approach towards understanding the Quranic messages. The Quran was not a revealed book dealing with the issues of the belief alone, but it was a comprehensive religious book that specifically address the social issues, according in some of the books also he found. Yes, please, the next one. And this is the third one about the how I decide, I summarize that it is his approach was the Maslaha oriented. His approach and understanding the Quran is about the focusing on the social well-being and in the interest or the social well-being of the society, Maslaha. According to Jarullah, it is best us to argue on the position of the Quran on the issues which are not beneficial for the society and does not fit the interests of people. For example, it is why I was mentioning the small issues in the big, about the one title of his book, right? He was writing Büyük Mavdularda Ufak Fikirler. We have some also the participants from my region here who knows the Arabic, Tatar. So talking about the unimportant ideas in significant topics. So in the title of the book, he said, we have to discuss about things which are beneficial and for our society. And he also, I found very interesting things about tafsirs. He wrote in he was translating the tafsir of the Dahlawi, Shaykh Waliullah, from the Urdu into the into Persian, the Urdu Persian, it was the mixture, his tafsir, if I'm not mistaken, and into the Tatar language and the old Tatar. This is written in the Arabic script, and where he mentioned tafsir is not about conveying the tradition of the tafsir books from the old tafsirs. Again, the writing, bringing for example, Ibn Kathir says this one, or this one says that one. But it is intellectual activity of contemporary scholars in solving the people's problems based on the text of the Quran by reasoning and recognizing the language of revelation and catching its logic. And it's why he was very worried about the situation, what was happening in his society at that time. He said, Mufassirs at present do not solve people's problems, do not meet their needs, but merely narrate the lifestyle of the past, also lacks of the information that makes the life of today's people easier and contains a lot of unnecessary and detailed information when they are writing their tafsirs. So it's why he is trying to encourage the scholars who are writing the modern explanations, interpretations, or the tafsirs of the Quran, in order to focus on today what is needed to write their tafsirs for modern day. It's why solution-oriented approach also I am mentioning. So this is the summary, the 5 things, what the main aspects or elements in Jarullah's method of understanding the Quran. Maybe something I'm missing. As I mentioned, I couldn't read all of his the books because I don't have access to them. Number 1, again, I repeat, proper understanding of linguistic meanings, the use of logic and reasoning. Number 3, relevantization or a fresh interpretation with relevance to time, cultural, geographical, and societal context. And also number 4, multidimension or integration approach in understanding the verses, not only from the tafsir studies, also from political science, from the societal or the cultural studies, all supposed to come together and work on the tafsir books. I mean, he was talking about collective ijtihad in many of his writings, giving this idea of the collective ijtihad, not only the one person, but the community is supposed to work, the different experts supposed to work on the right interpretation of the verses of the Quran. And also the last one, as I mentioned, it is the Maslaha-oriented interpretation, that whatever we write, whatever we say, it's supposed to bring benefit to humanity, to society. And yes, the last one is the last slide now, isn't it? Yes, summary. So to understand the verses of the Quran correctly and constructively, the elaboration of each message should go through all of these 5 elements, according to Musa Jarullah. But the Maslaha-oriented understanding and interpretation of Quranic messages was the most important and predominant element in his method, while other 4 elements were supporting that central one. And thank you very much. Thank you also for invitation. Thank you for listening. And this is all from me. Now I am ready. If you have any question, I am ready to answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Elmira. This is, of course, the ideas and of Musa Jarullah Bigiev, they are yet to be discovered. But what is relevant to, let's say, our condition, our institute here at Maqasid Institute is the methodology, and this is what we always talk about, and we discuss, and we raise the methodological questions, and especially the logic of the Quran, and how we should look at it from the holistic perspective in an interconnected manner. And so this is where we talk about the connectivity and holism, and also the purposefulness. So, all of this is, subhanAllah, is just, it's a continuation. I mean, what we are doing is a continuation of what Musa Jarullah and other scholars like him were doing.
Mm-hmm. Maybe the terminology is different. What the terminology you are using, holy, for example, holy, or how do you mention it?
Holism.
Holism.
Yeah, holistic thinking. Yeah, holism.
Holistic thinking. In his this is the maybe the terminology, because I was the one who was interpreting it. Maybe my terminology is different from your terminology, but the meanings are the same. You are right. It's why true. Agree.
I have
Yes, Prof. Yes, Prof. Yeah.
Jazakallah khair, Doctora. Barakallahu feekum. This was very beneficial. Barakallahu feekum. And I can see now why, when I read some of the writings of Sheikh Musa Jarullah, I could see a lot of similarities, because I could see the influence of the school of Sheikh Muhammad Abdu on him.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, though, is it Muhammad Abdu or Rashid Rida? When was the first time he was in Cairo?
Yes, it was, he was going to Cairo for the first time. I mean, before he returned, it was the end of, it is close to I don't remember exactly the years. It's 18 something, 90 pluses, before that one. He was there, he went in order to meet the Sheikh Muhammad Abdu to Al-Azhar. He didn't enroll into the Al-Azhar University, but he was studying together with him when he returned back from the Muhammad Abdu returned back from France during that time in the Al-Azhar. So he was getting the private lectures from him, and they keep communication. It's how he was writing an article about the Mus'haf of the Quran and sending to his almanar and publishing there. They keep their communication.
That is now the link then, because I was wondering, like, there are a few points, if you allow me, very quickly. One that has to do with his fatwa about fasting in the north. That is Muhammad Abdu's fatwa, the first person who gave it. I cited it in one of my fatwas related to the fasting in the north for the European Council these days. And Muhammad Abdu gave options have to do with either Mecca or the closest Muslim country. And it's very similar to what Jarullah has taken. So apparently he first had it from Muhammad Abdu. Al-Muwafaqat, if he's talking about Muwafaqat, it was Muhammad Abdu actually who brought Ash-Shatibi back to the Muslim mind. Before Muhammad Abdu, nobody knew Ash-Shatibi, but it was Muhammad Abdu who brought it. And then, of course, Abdullah Draz, the father of Muhammad Abdullah Draz, who made the first edition of Ash-Shatibi, and then Muhammad Abdullah Draz, of course, and so forth. And the influence of Muhammad Abdu in terms of Maqasid is very strong. That is where the Maqasid came from in Jarullah and Shatibi. And that's how Ibn Ashur as well, Muhammad Abdu, when he went to Tunis, you find very similar influence on Ibn Ashur. When he published in Al-Manar, that is now Rashid Rida, and that is the same school. Rashid Rida was more on the Salafi side, but it is the same school anyway of Muhammad Abdu. And Musa Jarullah, I can see the influences. We need to bring out what he wrote, Doctora, and publish it in the Arab world or in the English language, whatever scholarship. But we need to publish what he wrote, especially on the tafsir, because now there is a revival of interest in the school of Muhammad Abdu. And inshallah, if there are any transcripts that you have, please share with me. And then perhaps in a different research forum, we can talk about how we can publish that. But Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair for the very...
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes. Thank you very much. So regarding is this the comment I have to reply in this or? And thank you, Prof. Jasir. It was the participation is really encouraging. It's why thank you very much for finding time to join this talk today, because time was very short. I tried to give everything in a very compact way, because actually he didn't write the specific tafsir books himself. He was writing about his ideas are everywhere in his different type of the books. And I think the most important person, what you mentioned exactly, who was influencing the direction in his thought was the Muhammad Abdu. Muhammad Abdu. He mentions his name also in several places. Rashid Rida also, they keep the communication. And Elmira was very famous among Russian Muslims. They were asking a lot of questions. I think for this is the fatwa. Some Russian Muslims from his society, the Jarullah, were writing to Elmira, asking the question what we will do. It is why Muhammad Abdu was giving this the fatwa on the demand coming from the Russian Muslims or Muslims from Finland. The same Kazan Tatars were still living in the Finland today. Where is the type of the phenomenon is happening? So thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so we can have the question and answer session. If you have any question, please raise your hand. So this is the digital hand, and please, or you can write your comments or questions in the chat, please. Dr. Nasir. Nasir, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam, Nasir. Wa alaikum assalam.
And my prof, good morning. Here I can say, okay, it's good afternoon. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. We are learning a lot. I'm very impressed about this lecture, and I have learned a lot. And what I'm just thinking is the way this methodology is being applied in order to propagate Islam worldwide, because I can see that most of the scholars that you used to talk on, more especially the Musa Jarullah, you said he has traveled to so many places. I feel interested, but most of the time here in our societies, we don't have that means of traveling to so many places. But we thank God you come with this methodology of inviting us. We learn a lot from this, a very far place that we cannot go, but we can find so many things. We can find the writings, we can find the lectures there. So may Allah reward you abundantly, and may Allah continue to guide us through. Thank you so much, Ma. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Thank you, Nasir. Thank you, Dr. Nasir. Thank you very much. I am very happy to see you. I will write to you one day. I need to discuss something with you. But here, what I just wanted came to my mind when you were mentioning, we cannot travel today. We have visa issues. We have many other things, economic. But subhanAllah, look at the society today or time. We are living in the best time. Look. The knowledge is coming to us. The books are online. Today, I was very happy to know that one of my textbooks is published in Malaysia as an ebook. So, comes to us. Knowledge comes to us. Scholars are coming to us. I mean, all this is that we have such kind of technologies. Although we are some of us are living in economically not developed countries, still we have access today. Maybe the Jarullahs, being able to travel to other places. He was obliged to travel also because in his country, especially after the Soviet Union, the establishment of Soviet Union, he couldn't stay in his country because of repressions. We have to understand. So this was not something always the beneficial, I mean, the positive thing, you know, he was obliged to travel. You know, the Musa Jarullah died in the, the hospice, right, Ildus, in English, the folk house. Oh, it was
the house of the disabled. Literally.
Disabled, you know, it is very sad, you know, in some of the writings, I read his letters when he was writing to Finland to his friend, and he was writing how he is missing his kids, because some of his children were killed after him, some were put in prison. His wife was also facing a lot of the interrogations, and wife was very angry at him that he left her with the children were all grown already and left the country. But who lived in the country, they were under danger. So Musa Jarullah said, okay, whatever I was doing already, he's writing like this in one of the letters to Finland, to his friend. Okay, whatever done, I am done. I am very old now. Let the regime do whatever they want to do. I want to return back to my country and ask forgiveness from my wife. So he's writing like this, and he's crying. He took he took the boat and went together with the other people to Istanbul. From Istanbul, he is trying to somehow across the border into the Soviet Union side, to Georgia or other side, you know. He couldn't do it. He fell down. He was very old. He broke his leg. Then after that, his situation was sad. He didn't have money. He didn't have anything. How many books he was writing, and they traveling always. When he died, he didn't have anything. So he's just traveling. After that, some the good people in Istanbul who knew him personally, his friends sent him to Cairo. He returned back to Cairo. And one of the empress, what was her name? She knew about what did happen. Is from the Turkic, the descendant's wife of the Khedive. And she felt sorry for him and found a place for him that at least he will find some food, at least to eat, not to die from hunger in his old age. So this is it was the life of scholar like that time, you know. We are a very blessed people. We are a very lucky people that we are sitting, we are using the laptops, for example, the expensive ones, or the phones. And these are all the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's why we have to love the time in which we are living. Alhamdulillah, just it came to my mind. I didn't want to give any Friday khutbah here. So this is I learned a lot from life of Musa Jarullah, you know, the subhanallah, and his writings, and it really influenced his approach towards the life, approach all realities, political issues. This is amazing. It's why I just wanted to respond, and thank you, Brother Nasir, for reminding and giving opportunity to convey my thoughts to other people. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Any other question or comment?
Hello. Yes, can I?
Yes, Brother Sanjar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Elmira, for your very informative presentation. I'm very curious about this. The Arab Muslim thinkers' influence on Jarullah's thoughts, but did you find any similarities or the influence on the Musa Jarullah's of Central Asian Muslim thinkers, his contemporary or other past thinkers?
Okay.
Any connections with them?
Thank you, Sanjar. Thank you. I got your question. So as I mentioned, he was traveling across Central Asia for 4 years. He is mentioning about some names of his teachers in his writings. I don't remember any of them, because I never studied Central Asian scholarship. It's why these names are, during his time. But you know, the Central Asia might be, or the Turkestan, the Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan areas, the Crimea. and also Azerbaijan. These were all the part of the one big empire during that time, and the one country. All were living under, firstly under the Russian Empire, after that the Soviet Union, right? So it's why they were traveling, and he was studying under him, but the problems were with them always the same. And trying to find solutions, also there is going to be same. But he mentioned some names, but I can find these names. I can give to you later. It's in my master's thesis. I'm mentioning these names. Who was the scholar? Especially he was studying mathematics in Central Asia. He said the best one scholar, the best mathematician among Muslims today is living somewhere in the madrasah and teaching there. But he was not happy with Central Asian madrasah. That one I remember. He was criticizing madrasah system in Central Asia and mentioning that some kind of the reforming of this educational, the institutes in Central Asia is very urgent. And I mean, he has having a lot of the friends also from among the Uzbek scholars, among the especially related to the political, when after this Russian Revolution of 1905, many scholars are going to come to his apartment in St. Petersburg, because St. Petersburg was the capital city of Russian Empire at that time. They were working together and calling for the All Russian Empire Muslim Congress, and many were staying in his apartment and working together, especially related to the political and social issues of Muslims, legal issues. He worked a lot in order to give the equal rights to Muslims also during the Russian Empire time. So names I can find for you. This is what came to my mind when you were asking the question. Thank you, Sanjar. Thank you.
Maybe I can, you could maybe shed a little bit more light on the Jarullah's ideas on the establishment of a university, international, like an Islamic university. I think he wrote about it while he was in India. So okay. Maybe you could talk a little bit on that.
It is, I think this one, I think the copy I gave to you, Ildos. This is with you. I was studying. So actually, the establishing of Islamic universities, because universities were at that time it was some kind of the high level of educational institutions, and him and Muhammad Abduh also wanted to reform Al-Azhar, and he's amazing how he was struggling in order to reform, to include the faculties of the medicine, and also all this is the modern integrated this approach, not only because the madrasas during their time became some kind of studying of the religious subjects, while forgetting the second reading of the universe approach at that time. So about the science and other things, they were not out to date. Information was given to the students. It's why they became quite backward. Muhammad Abduh was also mentioning about it. So Musa Jarullah was also mentioning the same. Before that one, there was the Gasprala. So these ideas of the reforming of Islamic educational system was everywhere at that time. It was also in Malaysia. We found, many people are writing about it in Egypt, in Damascus, in Constantinople. Like the Sayyid Nursi wanted to establish the Madrasah al-Zahra modern university. And in Russia, Musa Jarullah also came out with the idea. They try to establish university, which is calling the high level of educational institute to give this education, professional education to Muslims, but it will be with the Islamic worldview, but it's going to teach what we call today, this is the worldly, I don't want to say secular, no knowledge is secular today, the worldly, like the sociologists and the up-to-date modern style of the disciplines. And he wrote one very short, the booklet, maybe the 9 or 10 pages in Arabic. When I was in Cairo for the OIC Youth Forum, I mentioned that one of the in Al-Azhar, we visited Al-Azhar, and I mentioned about it to someone. I don't remember the name. One of the teachers there, And she was very kind, and she said, let me try to find something. She found one small the book of the Musa Jarullah about establishment of Islamic University, made a copy and gave to me. It's how we have the at home, we have the copy of this one. So the about you are mentioning. So his scholarship was the capturing all the needs of the society, like the not only religious. It's why I am mentioning it was the multidimensional, or some people say the holistic approach, or seeing the society as a holistic. Knowledge also seeing as a holistic, not specifically divided into special disciplines.
Doctor, you mentioned Shah Waliullah Dahlawi. He was interested. Was he interested in Hujjatullah al-Baligha or other books? And how did he get Hujjatullah al-Baligha? Because eventually it was published by Sheikh Sayyid Sabiq much later in Cairo from an Indian copy. When I was in India, I got earlier copies, and I actually worked on a new edition, a project never completed, but maybe one day. But I wonder his relation with Shah Waliullah, or his students rather.
Okay, yeah. Musa Jarullah was also traveling to India. When he was traveling across the Middle East, he went to India. He studied Sanskrit. He studied also Urdu. He knew many languages, and during the traveling time, he got some the parts or some of the books. He was having very big library in the St. Petersburg, so he was bringing together with him books. I think during that time he got it when he was traveling himself, not from Cairo but from India, because he was also interested in the history of religions, especially in Hinduism, because he said the Muslim scholarship we studied about Christianity, we studied about Judaism, but we didn't. Millions of Muslims are living in India, but we don't do anything about Hinduism. It's why he wanted to study about them, and even he was reading some of the Vedas in order to understand, to find some kind of link to the Quran in order to understand this can be the revelation or not. So he was doing such kind of the things. I think he got his books during that time, most probably when he was traveling first time.
And does he have a translation of Hujjatullah al-Baligha of Dahlawi's?
That one I don't know. No. He was short translations, but these are not the. I mean, he was doing a lot of works. We know it from his biographers, but most of his writings we know the titles, but it is not easy to get these manuscripts. Not all of them, because during Soviet Union time, whatever books were in Arabic, transcript, most of them were destroyed or mostly destroyed, because for people it was not possible even to keep the one piece of any book, even the mathematics book, in Arabic, because it was enough to be killed or put in prison. It's why people didn't have such kind of books, and these books were all destroyed. It's how most of his books were destroyed, or some of them I found in Istanbul here, in Istanbul. This is how was the situation. It's why that book I don't have. But I think in İslam Araştırmalar Merkezi here in Istanbul, in Ballarbaşı, I found his translation of one tafsir. It was whose tafsir it was into. I will find it and I will tell to Ildus. Ildus can visit
Baydawi or Zamakhshari? Kashaf, Zamakhshari, okay.
I will find it, which one he was translating into Tatar, and also some of the volumes, not the entire, but some of the volumes. I think I was reading it here in Istanbul many years, around 20 years ago, here when I was doing my master's thesis for that one.
Barakallah.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, please? We have a comment from Brother Shoaibu. So just thanking Elmira for the presentation, and that he gained a lot of new understanding of the contributions. Bigiev's contribution. So was thanking you again. So any other question or comment from the audience, please? Okay, well, if we don't have any other questions or comments, I think let us thank the presenter. Really, we thank you very much for joining our research forum. And inshallah, we'll continue our research forums, monthly research forums. And this is a platform for discussions like today's, where scholars from various disciplines they present their ideas in that are related to the Maqasid studies, Maqasid al-Sharia, Maslaha, or anything close to close to those ideas and to Islah and Tajdeed. And so, inshallah, please keep from time to time check out our website and our social media. We'll be sharing some information about them. And Elmira, thank you very much again. And we hopefully we can invite you once again to present some other ideas, inshallah, what you're working on. And I know you're working on very interesting and people would be really delighted to hear what you're working on, inshallah, in some maybe after a few months.
Okay, thank you for invitation. Thank you.
Jazakumullah khairan. Barakallahu feekum.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Barakallahu feekum. You're not a guest. I mean, you're you know, the house is yours, inshallah.
Yeah, we will drink coffee now with the moderator.
Of course.
We will drink coffee with the moderator now.
Mashallah, mashallah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much for both of you.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
We'll be in touch, inshallah.
Inshallah.